let's keep going. So there's this whole issue with Pay Us What You Owe Us by the WNBA, which is the women claiming that they're owed more money. Now I'm going to get to some other issues. First off, I've read 3 or 4 articles in the Washington Post and a few articles outside of the Post on my phone about this whole issue, and not one of them mentions the fact that the league doesn't make any money, that the league is subsidized. I think there's another word. The league is subsidized by the NBA. They pay the money for these girls. Now I'm going to throw out some facts, some numbers, which I do find distressing. These girls make on average $75,000 a year. To the top girls make 130. Ladies make 130,000 a year. That's okay. Again, I'll throw both sides. To me, that's not very good. That sucks. On the other hand, well, yeah, that sucks. Those are pretty terrible numbers. On the other hand, they're being indulged to play a game that no one watches, except for lesbians and other ladies who are probably family members or friends of the team, and this core group that just love women's basketball. But let's face it, no one cared about this whole issue until Caitlin Clark came along. Me being one of them, I wouldn't have known anything about women's basketball had I not watched the incredible three-point shots and the incredible passing and generalship of Caitlin Clark. And I will give myself credit. I don't know how, but I shouldn't give myself credit. I will say this, I found out about her about 3 or 4 or 5 months before everyone else was talking about her. I was running around, Caitlin, and everyone was going, what are you talking about? Anyway, so the ladies makes not very good money. Now, Caitlin Clark's got to be making millions a year because of sponsorships, and I'm sure that the top 20 or 30 ladies are making sponsorship money. But that money kind of sucks. On the other hand, their league doesn't make any money, so how can you afford to pay them? And that's really a league problem. If you're gonna run a league and you're a losing proposition, you can only do that so long before you basically fold. So if they can't make money, they should fold. They shouldn't be subsidized by the NBA, which is what apparently has been happening. Now that said, the men make, I looked this up, it said the men generally make $7 million a year. But then I said, what's the lowest? And so the minimum money for a player in the NBA, the men's league, $525,000. Now that's some money. That is some big money for the worst player in the NBA to make that kind of money. Now, I don't think that the women should be anywhere near that because they're just not that good, honestly. And there's a lot of, I'm not an expert, but it seems to me there's a lot of double dribbling. And there's a lot of shots that if you practice something, you should be able to make shots. It doesn't matter who you are. If you practice, you should think you should make shots. And they miss a lot of shots. It seems to me. Anyway, if they could make, say, $250,000, they're not half as good as NBA players. So why should they make $250,000 a year as the lowest, or even as the highest? $250,000 is pretty. What's that, like being an executive? Who makes $250,000 a year? How much is that an hour? At a 40-hour week? I don't even know. That's a good question. How much? I'll have to ask Siri. Anyway, so yeah, those are just some thoughts. $75,000 really sucks. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. But you're playing in a league that's indulging you to do what you like to do and still pay you. I guess they make extra money. Probably a lot of them don't. How do the other ones make endorsements? Because unless you're in the elite, then you're really not. Do you really can you really demand any kind of endorsements? Can you get endorsements if you're just an average WNBA player? So anyway, there's some numbers and some thoughts. I am still a little, I'm not quite sure where I stand on all of this, but those are just some of the things that seem to be the facts. And so, for whatever that's worth, yeah, it's a little audacious. And now now it makes me, and I have some other thoughts. So anyway, let's ask all the lady saints to pray for us. Saint Bridget, Saint Catherine, and Saint Ingrid of Sweden, pray for us. Please pray for the souls of purgatory.